today's video, we really want to go over
the pros and cons and goods and bads of bus life. So we kind of broke it down into 5 categories that we're both going to share the best and worst parts
of. Mostly, you know, just our experiences, ways we've mitigated or corrected these problems, or ways we haven't. So for those of you who haven't been watching livingZEAL, and this video might be new to you, let me get you kind of filled in on where we are and where we're going.
Yeah.
We've been living in a short bus that we converted ourselves for a little over a year now. We both quit our jobs, went full-time into starting videos, into livingZEAL, right. And we've been doing that for a little over a year. Well, now we're going to sell the bus, we're going to move to Hawaii, and we're buying a new bus, and we're going to do a whole nother conversion in Maui while we're working for a awesome company making really cool adventure footage. So that's coming up in a couple weeks. But for right now, we're selling the bus, and we're going to go over everything that we've loved and hated about the past year here.
If you're interested in kind of following the rest of our journey here, just make sure you subscribe. It's a free way to help support us and let YouTube know that you think our content is cool and you want to see more of it.
Yep.
Okay. Well,
all right, so moving right in. The 5 areas we're going to touch on in this video are going to be the build, our favorite locations, and our least favorite location, traveling, being off-grid, and seasons in the bus. So let's bust right into the build.
Yes. You start with pros.
My favorite part is not something initial. What we originally did was this whole bed was raised up and closed off in sort of a bedroom, and the table that the camera's sitting on right now was also closed off into a bathroom that we originally made. And that was what we did within 10 days. We actually kind of overdid it.
We did.
In that 10 days. So my favorite part about the build is the renovation.
Right.
I love what we did right after we got married. We did a couple videos about the renovation, the latest one, where we really opened it up. We tried to make it more of a studio feel. We made a futon conversion so we had more room during the day. We stained this wall, and
yeah, I
just
agree.
love the feel of the bus since we did that.
I agree. I think that something we've learned a lot is, you know, you live in, I've talked about this before, but you live in houses typically, and everything is closed off into its own space. So when you're in a bus, you kind of think of like, oh, I'm going to make this its own just mini version of a house. And what we've realized is that studio feel is so much more manageable in here. And also we live in a tiny space because we want to be together. So if like you're cooking and I'm doing something else, or vice versa, we want to kind of be in a common space together.
Exactly.
And maybe that differs for other people if you have a bigger family or whatever, and you're trying to like make people feel like they have their own space.
Exactly.
But studios work really great for us, and that would be the pro, I'd say, too, of the renovation.
To be honest, like when you want your own space, the best way to get it, if you live on a bus with somebody else, is headphones.
Right. That's true.
That's kind of how we've done it.
Everyone who's doing a Skoolie build knows that the windows are kind of one of those things that you kind of can't insulate, and the best thing I would say to do in the future is to build your own insulated coverings that have insulation in them with magnets that'll easily clip onto the sides of these windows here. That's what I would do. These are things that like we easily could have done. We just never did.
We did. We also found out, we started using the thermal barrier, the stuff you can get, insulation barrier that you can just cut. And we started using that stuff, the radiant insulating barrier.
Right.
We started using that a little later than we should have, because I don't think we even knew about it. We were noobs going into this completely. All right, so number 2, locations. Let's get into our favorite and our least favorite locations.
Yes.
So my personal favorite. So we each have our favorites, and then we kind of have a combined favorite. My personal favorite was when we stayed outside of San Francisco, north side of the Golden Gate Bridge. That was amazing. That view when we woke up was awesome. I also got up at 5 a.m. and walked across the bridge and took a couple pictures, which was something I'll always remember. And I don't know, that was my favorite place to wake up in the bus, I would say.
Yeah, I love San Francisco. I think that's a good one. My favorite place was
Dinner's ready. Life in a Slow Lane just texted us.
Sometime at the beginning of this year, I think it was in February, we went up the Poudre River and just parked. We got enough food for like 10 days of being up there, and it was in the middle of winter, so there was snow everywhere, but the mountains were kind of more quiet because it was that time of year.
There was nobody else up there. We were completely alone. It was amazing.
Just at this like parking lot right off the road, essentially, right outside of like these campsites that we couldn't get into because they were not being plowed or maintained or anything. But it was amazing. It was super, super gorgeous. We got to go down to the Poudre River every day and like walk on the ice and just be with the mountains and the water and the sun and the cold, and it was great.
Yep, that was a great spot. That was our first real off-grid adventure, was the Poudre River.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of, it's a series that a lot of people haven't seen, but if you want to see some like way back livingZEAL videos, you should check that series out.
When we first started vlogging, and
it's definitely different types of videos, but it's so cute. I think they're all super cute. Our combined spot was this really beautiful BLM land in California. It was, I think, on our way to Sonoma. I can't remember exactly where it was.
It was lower wine country.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing rolling hills.
When you'd walk outside in the morning, you'd hear all of the birds, just this like symphony of birds, and they were so loud. Louder than if you go out into a city almost, you know?
Yeah.
And
there were like little lizards all over the place.
It was so
alive.
amazing.
It was amazing. That was our favorite spot.
It was like the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
So great.
Our least favorite spot is definitely a combined singular least favorite spot. And it was when we were on West Coast Wandering. We were headed to the Grand Canyon, and the day before we got there, we really needed to upload a video.
Yeah.
So Zaynah was the navigator, and always has been the navigator, and I just drive. She tells me where to go. So she kind of has an idea of our timeline, what we need to do, and where we need to be, and it turned out that the only only little town we could go to.
Well, what towns are nearby? Because a lot of times when you're driving through the West, like, you're not going to see a town for a long distance, and also plotting out diesel gas stations when you're in places that are more remote. But yeah. So
that brought us to this town in Arizona. I honestly don't remember the name of it, but it was a Indian reservation town, and there was one paved road, the highway that ran through. Everything else was just kind of these offshoots to these houses just kind of planted in the hills, like very hills have eye-ish.
Yeah, there were like dogs that had
been like a dog
very
that had 3
injured,
legs, like
multiple dogs just running around. They had people coming up to us asking for money and things as soon as we got there.
And like knocking on the bus door.
Yeah.
And I forgot about that. And we opened it, and this guy was like, "Do you have any money?" Like, it was just bad situation. We got in a fight because I really didn't want to be there, but we needed to upload this video, and
yeah, we like stopped at Denny's. We thought they'd have good Wi-Fi to finish uploading this video, and they didn't, and we like wasted $15 on a freaking Denny's and couldn't upload the video. And
like a sore thumb. We were sleeping in a gas station parking lot. We stuck out like a sore thumb.
We're gonna get into this story later though. We're
thinking about doing a podcast. This might just be for the patrons, but we really want to do a podcast and start going over in more detail, like
more stories of things in bus life.
Just stories, adventures, and have interviews with people who are in similar lifestyles. Traveling. So, actually traveling in the bus, moving it from location to location, there are pros and cons of that.
The pros of being able to move, do you want to start?
Yeah, the first day we started the bus up and left where it was parked, where we built it, and had our whole house here. The feeling of that was absolutely surreal.
Oh, yeah.
Like, everything I own, everything I love is right here, and I can move it to another location and have it there. I mean, that's obviously the big appeal.
Security every time you go somewhere. It's like your home is right there. I don't know if we can emphasize that enough, how incredible that feeling is, and that is why we love this lifestyle so much.
It's not just a vacation mobile, like an RV that you might hop into if you have a big house and
like,
go, you know. This is your whole, this is it. So it's like, it really does, home is where you park it. I love that Instagram channel, and that couldn't be like more of a true statement. It really is. Home is where you park it, and that's such a cool feeling because with those regards, we've lived in some of the most beautiful, amazing spots that we could never afford to live in, but, for 3 nights, for actually 4 or 5 days, we lived in San Francisco
it was like 6 days. It was almost a full week,
wow.
I think.
We just loved it, so we lived there, and we absolutely loved living there.
And it's so fun to get to a place and be like, whoa, this is awesome, and no, you're not going to stay there forever, but be like, let's stay here for a while. Let's go out a couple more nights.
Yeah,
exactly. We know that we're going to be rolling on eventually, but it's nice to kind of have the option to stick around a place and go to the same coffee shop twice or whatever it may be.
With that being said, it's also really nice just to hang out in your house.
Yeah.
Like, if you're parked up at a really good view, you don't have to go out. Just be inspired by the view in your house. It's like you suddenly live in your dream location.
These windows are so amazing. Yeah. Like, I know they're bad for insulation, but they're just...
We had to leave this whole side open.
So gorgeous.
So anyway, there are downsides to traveling in the bus, for sure.
Yes.
One of them.
I think the biggest one is the fact that it takes so much time to get into a routine of everything you need to put away and strap down and seal up. I cannot tell you how many times we've had things fall and break or spill or whatever in the bus, because when you're traveling and you think you get everything nailed down, and then there's like one random cup that happened to be not put away and then spilled.
I think the best spill in the bus was when we had a half full French press and it went tumbling off, and it was a stainless steel, so it hit the ground and didn't break. Everything just
we had to get new white paneling because it was literally
covered.
On everything.
Covered.
Yeah.
And you can't, when you're driving, you can't immediately clean it up.
Right.
Like that stuff settled into the paneling and stained it. Like we didn't have time to immediately wipe it off.
Right.
By the time we pulled over in like half an hour, it was already, the damage was done.
Right. And I'm like trying to do it. It was like a whole ordeal. We'll get into that on later.
Anyway, so traveling can be really cumbersome.
If you want to get to more of a point where you don't have to worry so much with things rambling around when you're traveling, have less stuff. Would be my 2 cents to that.
Strap it all down. However, I'd say the biggest downfall to driving in the bus is the gas mileage.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do to get around like 10 miles if you're driving it carefully.
Right.
Per gallon. Number 4, being off grid. We love being able to be completely off grid, loading up all our provisions. We have a ton of water jugs in the back. We have 500 watts on the roof, a few batteries in the back collecting that power, and we can go off the grid, be completely away from everybody, and just
super
settle
cozy.
in.
And we have enough counter space in here and a big enough fridge so that when we go off grid, we can like really stock up on food. I think that's a big thing because I've heard a lot of people talk about getting too small of domestics or not having enough places to actually store your food. So for us, we have no problems with that, and yeah, we can store food for up to 2 weeks in here, no problem. And that's still eating like tons of fresh fruit and vegetables. But yeah, the fridge is really big, and the counter space, we dedicate like half of it to storing food.
There are obviously a ton of benefits to being off grid. Like we just got to go park up at a trailhead for almost a week in Netherlands, where there was no water, no electricity, nothing, and you're just surrounded by nature, and you still have it. We have plenty of electricity on here, plenty of water, plenty of food, which is really nice.
Yeah, it is really nice.
It's also less expensive. When you go off grid, you don't have to pay for electricity, which is really nice. We've never paid an electric bill in this bus. We've never paid to park in this bus. We always have just been able to go to BLM land. So that's a huge advantage to being off grid, is you don't have to go to a campsite.
Right. This land that we went up to in Netherlands was BLM land, and that's what was so great about it, because the other cool thing is then you're not in a town, so you're not going to a coffee shop or you're not spending money on little extra things because you're off grid. So especially with our lifestyle, making YouTube videos, we can still be working while we're off grid, but not spending any money, and that makes saving really, really easy and convenient.
I realized, a lot of people, on another note, don't know what BLM land is. I've realized this recently. It stands for Bureau of Land Management.
Yeah.
And it's free campsites throughout the Western North America, basically from Colorado to California. Free campsites you can stay at for 14 days, scattered all throughout the mountains and hills everywhere. Yeah. It's really, really cool. If you're ever in America, check out North America. Check out BLM land. It doesn't really exist out east, though. Yeah,
you could live on it permanently. So yeah, if you want to get into this lifestyle and you don't know where you would travel and how you would avoid cops or whatever, that would be a good option.
It's a great answer for us. I think the biggest con of being off-grid is the constant need to be parked in direct sunlight.
Yeah.
When you have solar on your roof, you can't park in the shade. You can't park in the shade for a lot of reasons. We actually burnt out one of our batteries because we parked in the shade for too long. Luckily, it was an extra one that I had from my step van build, so it didn't hurt the setup too much.
Right.
But it burnt out one of our batteries because we parked in the shade for like 2 months.
Right.
Sort of. It was like half shaded in the day, and we got solar, but at nighttime it would get down to like the low 11s, which is not good. So parking in direct sunlight all the time to get that solar energy can be really hot.
As well as where you're planning on living in your conversion. So you may be planning on living somewhere where it's cold, but then you're still going to be dealing with the effects of the sun not being up as much in the sky during the winter. So I think that's a big reason, not only for the warmth and not having to deal with winter, but that's a big reason why a lot of people go south in their conversions for the winter time, so that you get more access to sunlight. Right. And solar's not as big of an issue for you. But because we really realized that in this past winter in Colorado, that the sun would not come up until what time?
In the morning? It'd be up at like 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Yeah, and then it would go down at 4 o'clock. And so we were really, really, really struggling with solar at that time of year. But if you live in southern places, then that's a good time to do that time of year. But that can be a real issue.
The only downside that I could really think of being off-grid, being self-sustainable, is that solar. I can't really think of any other downsides. And if you can, we're thinking about with the bus, building the next bus in Hawaii, building a detachable solar setup so that we can move it somewhere else. And
rather than
be able
having
to
it
park in the
mounted to
shade.
the roof. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing. And we're not going to be driving the bus around a lot in Hawaii. So for us, yeah, it's better to
Like
have
it all,
the home
yeah.
base be cool and still get solar energy. Okay.
So now we're at number 5, and it's probably the biggest one. It kicked us in the butt for sure.
Yeah.
Seasons. So the thing I love about seasons are fall and spring. Summer and winter, that's honestly, if you need a breakdown, the good are fall and spring, and the bad are summer and winter.
Yeah.
And it's pretty obvious why. I mean, you don't have the power if you're off grid for an air conditioner for the summer, and in the winter you have to keep cutting wood and feeding the fire and constantly keep the bus warm, especially with 2 cats in here. Mm-hmm. We couldn't just leave the bus and let it get cold. We had to keep it hot constantly.
Right. That's
or at
so
least
true.
Cool.
Yeah.
Or at least warm.
Yeah, that is the big thing with having animals inside your conversion. We've talked about this before. I guess this is kind of the bad part about seasons, is that when you have animals aboard, you have to maintain a constant temperature. And yeah, like when we went on hikes or we went and did whatever, if we were going to be gone, we had to plan it so that we either went in the mornings so we could be back before it got really hot in the middle of the day or got really cold. And it's just a lot to think about. It's something that
It is.
you really take for granted when you live in an apartment or a house, that thermostat. And you've talked about this before, where you can just adjust the temperature super easily. It's not quite that easy in here, and the stakes are high if you mess it up when you have animals aboard.
Exactly.
The thing I love about spring and fall, especially fall right now, is that you still get that warmth during the day, but you can just open up all the windows and get a really nice cross breeze, and the weather just feels amazing, and you feel like you're half living in the bus, half living outside when all these windows are down.
Yeah.
We are gonna really, really miss this.
Absolutely.
And I think this pretty much wraps this 5-part thing up. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and we are going to be parting from this bus. Today's Friday. We're going to be parting from this bus
5 days.
5 days.
On Wednesday.
Yeah.
We're handing over the keys.
Yeah, we're kind of just trying to soak up our last final hours in here and just be really grateful and reminisce for all the love we've had in this space.
Don't forget about our live chat on Sunday at 5 o'clock Mountain Standard Time.
Yeah.
Also look forward to a video Sunday morning. It's going to be pretty fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see you guys next time.
Bye, guys. See you next
Bye.
time.